see the bad moon rising. I see trouble on the way. I see earthquakes and lightning. I see bad times today.
21st century. The story that we remember this season dates back more than 2,000 years.
Stop the story of... What story would that be, Mr. President? Does it have a name? Roll tape.
Hope. The birth of a singular child into the simplest of circumstances. A child who would grow up to live a life of humility and kindness.
Stop the tape.
And compassion.
Does the child, Mr. President, have a name?
The child is Barack Obama. He's comparing himself to Jesus Christ here.
Mr. President, have a name. Can you name the child as you're telling this wonderful story? Roll tape.
Who traveled with a message of empathy and understanding. Who taught us to care for the poor and the marginalized.
Stop
and
the
those
tape. I think, Mr. President, you're talking about Christ, also known as Jesus, who had a message of individual salvation, by the way, Mr. President, not too far afield from our rugged individuality in this country. He also had a message of following the rules, and the rules would be the Bible. Not unlike the President following the rules, that would be the Constitution. Congratulations, Mr. President. You went through an entire speech talking about the birth of Christ without saying Christ or Jesus. So, why would a president who claims to be Christian go out of his way to avoid using the word Jesus? Why would he twist himself into a pretzel to avoid using the term Christmas tree? For that matter, why would Obama legalize the illegals? Why would he defile the United States Constitution? The answer to all of the above is simple. Barack Obama hates our country, we the people, our Judeo-Christian history, our conservative traditions, and our proud European-based culture. So, Mr. President, Merry Christmas.
That we can create a modern international community that is respectful, that is secure, that is prosperous, that there are not tensions, inevitable tensions, between cultures, which I think is extraordinarily important. That's something that's very important to me. You know, I've said before that one of the great strengths of the United States is, although as I mentioned, we have a very large Christian population, we do not consider ourselves a Christian nation or a Jewish nation or a Muslim nation. We consider ourselves a nation of citizens.
I see the bad moon rising. I see trouble.
Would it be James Dobson or Al Sharpton? Which passages of Scripture should guide our public policy? Should we go with Leviticus, which suggests slavery is okay, and that eating shellfish is an abomination? Or we could go with Deuteronomy, which suggests stoning your child if he strays from the faith? Or should we just stick to the Sermon on the Mount, a passage that is so radical that it's doubtful that our own Defense Department would survive its application? So before we get carried away, let's read our Bibles now. Folks haven't been reading their Bible. Which brings me to my second point. Democracy demands that the religiously motivated translate their concerns into universal rather than religion-specific values. What do I mean by this? It requires that their proposals be subject to argument and amenable to reason. Now, I may be opposed to abortion for religious reasons, to take one example, but if I seek to pass a law banning the practice, I can't simply point to the teachings of my church or evoke God's will. I have to explain why abortion violates some principle that is accessible to people of all faiths, including those with no faith at all. Now, this is going to be difficult for some who believe in the inerrancy of the Bible, as many evangelicals do. But in a pluralistic society, we have no choice. Politics depends on our ability to persuade each other of common aims based on a common reality. It involves compromise, the art of what's possible. And at some fundamental level, religion doesn't allow for compromise. It's the art of the impossible. If God's spoken, then followers are expected to live up to God's edicts, regardless of the consequences. Now, to base one's own life on such uncompromising commitments may be sublime, but to base our policy making on such commitments would be a dangerous thing. And if you doubt that, let me just give you an example. We all know the story of Abraham and Isaac. Abraham's ordered by God to offer up his only son. Without argument, he takes Isaac up to the mountaintop, he binds them to the altar, raises his knife, prepares to act as God commanded. Now, we know things worked out. You know, God sends down angel to intercede.
I see the bad moon horizon. I see trouble on the way. I see earthquakes and lightning. I see bad times today. Don't go around tonight, but it's bound to take your life. There's a bad moon on the rise. Hurricanes are blowing. I know the end is coming soon. I fear rivers overflowing. I hear the voice of rage and ruin. Go around tonight, but it's bound to take your life. There's a bad moon on the rise. Don't go around tonight, but it's bound to take your life.
Have you ever dreamed of going up to outer space? Or maybe meeting other beings from another place? Have you ever wondered what it's like on other planets? Then you watch a science show and come to believe you understand it? You feel empowered by the knowledge and you feel enlightened, listening to Bill Nye and Neil deGrasse Tyson. But then you wake up and you start to see the obvious. Life is just a lie and this whole world ain't what we thought it was. NASA's missions to the moon were never completed. They just filmed them in a room and people believe it. I used to wonder what it's like to be an astronaut. Now when I see them acting, I can't help but to laugh a lot. They give us cartoons and they claim that we live on a ball, but it's flat and it's not moving or spinning at all. Why you lying to us, man? That's something that we want to know. After that, you're gonna have to pack up all your stuff and go. History has been rewritten by winners of wars, the Jesuit order, Khazars, Freemasons, and more. They pulled the veil over our eyes, and it's time to awaken. Through organized indoctrination, our minds have been taken. It's time we take our power back and we rescue our people. The Vatican and the bankers are like Resident Evil. They may have had the greatest plan that was ever concocted, but Illuminati never thought that they'd ever be spotted. They're manufacturing reality all in our heads. They tell us if the earth is flat, then we'll fall off the edge. But if it is a spinning ball, we won't fall off it then. And gravity is our imaginary magic friend. Why is water always flat when unmanipulated? Why are pictures of the earth computer generated? Why you lying to us, man? That's something that we want to know. After that, you're gonna have to pack up all your stuff and go.
It's becoming 100% crystal clear that you are deceiving the entire world. More and more people are waking up every single day, and we are now able to see right through you. what we really want to know is, why are you lying? Sincerely, me and the great people of this earth.
You accept the reality that's presented to you. You watch the news and perceive it as truth that's given to you. You even repeat the things that you hear, just listen to you. Major media outlets exist here just to fool you. Fox News, MSNBC, and CNN. What kind of vision are you seeing in? I'm seeing them in Ultra HD, trying to brainwash me and everybody else. Why can't y'all see? And Alex Jones is on the internet, imposing on our intellect. It makes me wonder why guys like him even get respect. It's time to disconnect and get some shit correct. Don't pay attention, they misdirect us to get a check. Infowars on the prison planet, it ain't right. It's just another way to put it out in plain sight. This is their game that we're playing, they got their game tight. The new world order's about to take flight. They got us running around like chickens with our heads cut off, sacrificing our lives to jobs that barely pay enough to get by. To add insult to injury, it is becoming illegal to be homeless. They have an agenda with plans and goals that exceed 100 plus years from now. And you don't even know what you're gonna eat for lunch tomorrow. ODD TV.
A year ago and a year and a half ago that the subprime lending crisis could spill over, and that, let me try that again, avoid from getting into this crisis in the first place. I warned.
That's okay. There's a lot of flies in here, and the center is going to do something about these flies.
We're going to do it one more time. We are. But there's no doubt that we're underinvesting in education. Now, mostly that's a state issue.
That's okay.
All right, let's try it again.
Okay. Talking about education.
Here's what we need to do. We need to invest in early childhood education.
We need
I'm sorry.
Bring an exterminator with us.
Yes, we do. Just a big fan right here would do it.
We've gotten the two questions.
We
you were
did.
promised
Okay.
two. You were trying to sneak in.
No, I said welcome. I said welcome to Elko, and you said.
Yeah.
Finally to the White House, where this afternoon, as you saw earlier, the president sat down for an interview with CNBC's John Harwood and The Fly.
To increase the transparency and the openness that has been the signature characteristic of our... sorry, I'm going to start over. I'm going to start at I will contrast. Hey, get out of here.
That's the most persistent fly I've ever seen. Nice.
Now, where were we?
Was he on that list of The Fly, the list of White House guests? And big deal, Mr. Miyagi did it with chopsticks. The fly was smooshed, wound up on the floor. After the interview, the president bent over and picked the dead fly up with a napkin. Unexpectedly, it turned out to be Jeff Goldblum.
Lying is such a waste of time. If being dirty is a crime, I am filthy. I am guilty.
Lead the Security and Exchange Commission, and Richard Cordray to continue leading the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. This guy's bothering me here. The information they need to make sound financial choices and protect them from unscrupulous lenders and debt collectors. As a former Attorney General of Ohio with a long record of working with Democrats and Republicans,
Guilty of everything I've ever said or done, and all that I've become is so filthy. I am guilty. I'm caught up in the zeros and ones, heroes and non-egos and guns. What the hell are we doing it for? Wars and rumors of war. Ignore the poor, so a billboard with 1-800-DIVORCE. Of course, I just let it happen. Let someone else die for freedom. The devil's playing the game, and only God can beat him.
I believe in the Second Amendment. It's there written on the paper. But I also believe that we can find ways to reduce gun violence consistent with the Second Amendment.
Contrary to claims of some presidential candidates apparently before this meeting, this is not a plot to take away everybody's guns. So the gun lobby may be holding Congress hostage right now, but they cannot hold America hostage. We do not have to accept this carnage as the price of freedom. Until we have a Congress that's in line with the majority of Americans, there are actions within my legal authority that we can take to help reduce gun violence and save more lives. Anybody in the business of selling firearms must get a license and conduct background checks or be subject to criminal prosecutions. We're going to do more to help those suffering from mental illness get the help that they need. So, for those in Congress who so often rush to blame mental illness for mass shootings as a way of avoiding action on guns, here's your chance to support these efforts. Put your money where your mouth is. And from every family who never imagined that their loved one would be taken from our lives by a bullet from a gun. Every time I think about those kids, it gets me mad. And by the way, it happens on the streets of Chicago every day. So, all of us need to demand a Congress brave enough to stand up to the gun lobby's lies. All of us need to stand up and protect its citizens. All of us need to demand governors and legislators and businesses do their part to make our communities safer. I offered Governor Malloy my condolences on behalf of the nation and made it clear he will have every single resource that he needs to investigate this heinous crime, care for the victims, counsel their families. We've endured too many of these tragedies in the past few years, and each time I learn the news, I react not as a president, but as anybody else would, as a parent. And that was especially true today. I know there's not a parent in America who doesn't feel the same overwhelming grief that I do. The majority of those who died today were children. Beautiful little kids between the ages of 5 and 10 years old. They had their entire lives ahead of them. Birthdays, graduations, weddings, kids of their own. Among the fallen were also teachers, men and women who devoted their lives to helping our children fulfill their dreams. So our hearts are broken today for the parents and grandparents, sisters and brothers of these little children, and for the families of the adults who were lost. Our hearts are broken for the parents of the survivors as well. For as blessed as they are to have their children home tonight, they know that their children's innocence has been torn away from them too early, and there are no words that will ease their pain. As a country, we have been through this too many times. Whether it's an elementary school in Newton or a shopping mall in Oregon or a temple in Wisconsin or a movie theater in Aurora or a street corner in Chicago, these neighborhoods are our neighborhoods and these children are our children. And we're going to have to come together and take meaningful action to prevent more tragedies like this, regardless of the politics. This evening, Michelle and I will do what I know every parent in America will do, which is hug our children a little tighter, and we'll tell them that we love them, and we'll remind each other how deeply we love one another. But there are families in Connecticut who cannot do that tonight, and they need all of us right now. In the hard days to come, that community needs us to be at our best as Americans, and I will do everything in my power as president to help. Because while nothing can fill the space of a lost child or loved one, all of us can extend a hand to those in need, to remind them that we are there for them, that we are praying for them, that the love they felt for those they lost endures not just in their memories, but also in ours. May God bless the memory of the victims. And in the words of Scripture, heal the brokenhearted and bind up their wounds.
What would you expect for intact tissue? What sort of compensation? What sort of...
Well, why don't you start by telling me what you're used to paying?
We'll be exhibiting at the Medical Directors Council meeting in a couple of weeks, so I don't know if you'll be attending.
I'm now the president of that organization.
Oh.
So we had just started the conversation, and Susan was at Clinic. They're a startup that they have been about a year in business. They're a for-profit company that's connecting researchers with people willing to donate tissue. Our volume, thank you for giving it to me, is 800 a year with 60 in the second trimester. And we just started to talk about how the process worked with Novogenics down in Los Angeles when I was there. Okay. To back up a little bit, PPFA, our parent body, is on board with tissue donation, but we have to ask for a waiver to do it, and we have to lay out for them what our program's going to be like. And the mechanics of it was that Heather, Novogenics person, would come to the site, and our staff would sign the patients up and get consent, and then Heather would look at the tissue and take what she required. So it was logistically very easy for us. We never do anything. So it was compensation for this. We never do anything. So it was compensation for this, and there was a discussion as I was leaving. They had been paying by the case, and there was some discussion about doing it in a different way, or I don't know what you're used to doing. How are you used to doing compensation? The patients don't get anything, of course. But.
Okay, so I'd like, what would you expect for intact tissue? What sort of compensation? What sort of...
Well, why don't you start by telling me what you're used to paying?
Okay. I don't think so. I would like to know what would make you happy. What would work for you?
Well, you know, in negotiations, the person who throws out the figure first is at a loss, right? So.
I see the bad moon rising. I see trouble on the way. I see earthquakes and lightning.